Most of you have heard about intermittent fasting, and you've probably heard that fasting can help you burn fat, lose some weight, and be more productive throughout the day while still enjoying bigger, more satisfying meals. But most of you probably don't know that if you set up your intermittent fasting plan incorrectly, it can make you fatter rather than leaner. So today I want to go over 5 of the top intermittent fasting mistakes so you can avoid them and get the fastest results possible. And the last mistake is one that you've probably never even considered. So make sure you stick with me through this whole video. The very first mistake I want to go over has to do with people's lack of patience. So many people start fasting and all they can think about is how badly they want to lose weight or body fat and what's the quickest way to do it. So what they do is they spend the whole day or part of the day not eating, and then finally when their feeding window arrives and they're finally allowed to eat, they still try to severely restrict calories. One of my favorite things about fasting is that it teaches you how to listen to your body and how to eat normally without having to think about every last calorie. This is what allows fasting to be an appropriate lifestyle dieting approach for the long run. Fasting allows you to reteach your body how to stop eating when you're full. But a lot of people that think that they're going to get results faster continue to deprive themselves of food even when they're allowed to eat. Not only is this physically stressful on your body, but it's also extremely mentally stressful on your willpower and your mind. In the long run, this is completely unsustainable and will most likely lead you to a big bad binge. And binging can lead you into a downward spiral that causes you to regain all the body fat that you might have lost from fasting to begin with. To prevent this, make sure that you allow yourself to eat sensible options all the way until you're full. As long as you're having real, natural, single ingredient foods, you'll feel full long before you go over your total daily allotted calories. Of course, there is the issue of going too far in the opposite direction. That's what leads me to mistake number 2, which is definitely one of the worst mistakes you can make, and that's binging as soon as your fasting window has ended. A lot of you, especially if you're new to fasting, might be sitting there every day just counting down the seconds until you're finally allowed to eat. During that wait, your mind is giving you all kinds of suggestions that'll help you feel full and satisfied as soon as you can eat again. And unfortunately, most of those suggestions are going to be junk food that you've been mentally obsessing over and craving. Even if you're eating fewer meals per day, if you binge and satisfy your unhealthy cravings every time that you eat, you won't get much results. But don't worry, there are a few simple tips that can help you avoid binging every time you eat. First of all, when you're brand new to fasting and you're first starting off, make sure you're tracking your calories and macros to be sure you're not going way over your daily allotted calories. If you don't know what calories and macros you need for fat loss, you can use my calorie calculator that I've linked up below. And then after eating, you can just plug in everything that you ate and make sure at least a couple days that you didn't go over your totals. What if you don't want to track your calories and your macros? Well, the second thing you can do is have a meal sitting in the fridge, already prepped and ready to go. By having a meal ready, you don't have to go through the grueling process of cooking after a long period of fasting, because a lot of you will start eating easy to access junk food while cooking your meal. If you start eating junk food while prepping a healthy meal, by the time that you're done cooking, you'll already wolf down sometimes 500 all the way up to 1,000 calories. So don't tax your willpower. Have the healthy meal ready to go. My last tip to help you with this issue is to actually indulge in your cravings, but only after you've already filled up on a healthy meal. Eat your vegetables first, followed by your protein source, followed by your fruit, your healthy carb source, and then you can finally make room for snacks and cravings. By satisfying your cravings after you're no longer extremely hungry, you'll typically have much less chances of a full-out binge episode. Again, keep in mind intermittent fasting works because ultimately you eat less. Fasting may give you more room for the food you enjoy, but it's not an excuse to eat whatever you want to whatever excess you want. Let's move on to mistake number 3, and that's accidentally eating or drinking something that takes you out of your fast. Many of you might like having coffee every morning, and the good news is, even while you're fasting, you can. But I'm sure most of you have heard that you want to stick to black coffee. The reason you're typically given is because even though creamer may not be very high in calories, it can take you out of your fasted state and prevent you from burning as much of your own fat. However, this is not entirely true. Many people add butter, MCT oil, or coconut oil to their coffee because none of those pure fat options will spike your insulin levels very much at all. Most creamers are very low in carbs and are higher in fat. Even though adding a creamer can slow fat loss down a little, you should still stay in a fat burning state. Remember, you want to stick with a creamer that is higher in fat and lower in carbs. Even half and half is better than almost all low-fat creamers. The fat in a low-fat creamer and non-fat creamer is mainly replaced with simple carbs that you want to stay away from. If you can't have your coffee black, the key with coffee creamer is to go light on the cream. Put just enough in your coffee for you to be able to drink it. The only time that this would become a problem is if you're having 4 or 5 cups of coffee a day. But if you're having 1 cup of coffee, a tiny bit of cream will most likely not break you out of your fast. The bigger problem is sugar. There shouldn't be any sugar in your coffee because that will spike your blood sugar and your insulin levels and it'll ruin your fast. Most people know this, so most people will replace the sugar with an artificial sweetener, but this can be a big problem. The problem with this is that some artificial sweeteners have shown to also increase insulin levels. So do your best to stay away from artificial sweeteners while fasting. Again, this isn't to say that I want you obsessing over whether you can have a piece of sugar-free gum or not, because the amount of artificial sweetener in 1 piece of sugar-free gum is basically negligible. However, if you start taking 4 or 5 packets of Equal or Splenda or Stevia and throwing it into your morning coffee, not only can you be throwing yourself out of your fast, but you can also be making yourself crave sweets even more. The same thing goes for sugar-free drinks like Coke Zero or Crystal Light. Aside from the negative effect of breaking your fast, you should avoid these drinks just because of the harmful effects of aspartame alone. On top of that, specifically in the Coke Zero and other sugar-free drinks, there are additional sweeteners on top of the aspartame that have shown to be insulinogenic. If you're slamming down diet soda after diet soda, you'll definitely run into problems. The 4th mistake that I see people making all the time is an overall fear of being hungry. Many people, when they feel hungry, they feel like something's wrong or that something could go wrong. So what do? They eat right away. This can not only ruin your fast, but it can completely turn you off to fasting due to a fear of something going wrong. You have to understand, when you first start fasting, your body is still on its regular eating schedule. So a lot of people feel like their morning breakfast cravings will never go away. But the truth is that your body will adjust over time and you'll feel less hungry at breakfast time as you get more used to not having your breakfast. Your hunger hormones are released during the same times of the day that you're used to eating. You can see this in your pets. Your pets will start getting antsy and they'll start looking for their food at the same time every day without being able to read a clock. It's because our bodies are on an internal schedule. If you have a lot of trouble with hunger when you first start fasting, try to first just cut out all carbs for breakfast and stick to primarily fat and protein. Then work your way to having a smaller breakfast. Then delay your breakfast a little later in the day. And finally, you'll work your way into comfortably skipping breakfast. The last mistake you want to avoid is a mistake that most people that do early morning workouts make over and over again. People are still under the impression that directly after your workout, you have to have a protein shake as soon as possible or else your muscles will not start repairing. So someone that wakes up at 6 a.m. to get an early morning workout in will immediately have a protein shake even though they're supposed to be fasting until noon or 1 o'clock. The problem with this is that protein, especially whey protein, is extremely insulinogenic. Meaning having a protein shake after your workout will throw you out of your fast. And no, it's not just because the protein shake has calories, it's because of insulin. In fact, there's a lot of debate about whether having even BCAAs or branched chain amino acids can throw you out of your fast, because even they are considered insulinogenic by many experts. You don't have to worry about your muscles not repairing if you wait after your workout until your eating window. If your main goal is fat loss, I highly recommend that you wait. If your main goal is to bulk up and get as muscular as possible, then fasting may not even be the most appropriate diet plan for you at this current time, because fasting makes it hard to create enough of a calorie surplus to significantly bulk up. However, once again, for those of you that are primarily looking to lose some body fat with fasting, you'll be better off saving the protein shake till later. That's it, guys. I really hope this video has helped you out. If you enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe and feel free to register for my free 6-week challenge that I'm running right now, where the way that you get it for free, the big catch, is that you actually have to stick to the plan. Wow. Who would have ever thought that if you wanted to change your body, You would have to not only have a plan, but you also have to be willing to follow it and stick to it. With this plan, we'll give you everything you need to succeed, including an accountability coach that's going to check in with you every week, as well as a diet and a workout plan. And we transition you into a lifestyle fasting plan as we move through the 6 weeks. On average, my clients are losing either 20 pounds or 5% body fat during these 6 weeks. If you're motivated and you want a challenge that pushes you to follow through and do your part, then click the link below and visit my website. It's gravitytransformation.com. I'll see you guys soon.